Chapter 8, Cognitive and Language Development in Early Childhood. There are 5 areas we will cover in this chapter: advances and limitations in children's thinking, Piaget and theory, information processing and developmental cognitive neuroscience, Vygotsky and the sociocultural approach, language development, early literacy and early mathematics, influences of childcare and early childcare education. Piaget believed children's thinking between the ages of 2 and 6 was fundamentally limited, and children's thinking falls within the pre-operational period, which is characterized by advances in symbolic representation, the understanding that one object or action can stand for another. An example is pretend play, where toy figures and animals come to life and interact with each other. Conservation demonstrates the limitations in a child's problem-solving abilities in early childhood, and most children understand the principle of conservation by age 7 or 8. Pre-operational thinking includes Piaget's test of conservation and demonstrates the limitations of young children's problem-solving skills. According to Piaget, the lack of reversible mental operations is what gives the pre-operational period its name. This leads to 2 errors in preschool thinking. One is centration, or the tendency to focus on only one salient aspect or dimension, and then focus on appearances rather than reality. There's a nice video in your module this week that illustrates this, so please watch it. Egocentrism can be observed in children's conversations, such as when a child is talking on the phone and refers to something in the room that the person on the phone is unable to see, but the child can see. Children overcome egocentrism and understand other people's perspectives towards the end of the pre-operational period. The final limitation in children's thinking is animism, the tendency to attribute human qualities or qualities of other living things to inanimate things. For example, the sun shines because it is happy, or leaves are blowing at the door because they want to come in from the cold. How accurate was Piaget? Contemporary views suggest Piaget may have underestimated children's cognitive competence. Current research reveals that children's cognitive development is more gradual and continuous than what Piaget originally thought. Contemporary research indicates children make fewer pre-operational errors than on Piaget's versions of the tasks and are less egocentric than Piaget claimed. Theory suggests that children are born with an innate understanding of how the world works, referred to as core knowledge. Infants between 10 to 12 months understand intentional behaviors. Older toddlers recognize their intentions and desires and can differ that from others. Biological maturation, particularly in the regions of the prefrontal cortex and the temporal and parietal lobes and social experience, play a role in the development of theory of mind. Understanding theory of mind engages children in the processes of trickery, deceit, and lying to others. Better performance on these deception tasks is consistent with earlier understanding of theory of mind. Parents report an increase in lying at around the age of 4. Older siblings can play a huge role in the theory of mind of younger children. Recent studies show 4-year-olds know a great deal about the properties of living things and are able to easily distinguish between animals and non-moving objects, as well as animals and moving artifacts. Most animistic errors occur primarily with natural phenomena such as clouds, rivers, and the wind, and children sometimes say plants are not alive. A child's knowledge of living things comes from observation and experience. Young children with pets show a more sophisticated understanding of biological processes, such as the ability to smell and the need to eat. Children's natural questioning behavior invites information about living things, as does their many experiences with naturalistic observation. How many times did you hear your parents or teacher tell you to sit and pay attention? Is the ability to pay attention a function of development, or might the inability to do so at an early age predict an underlying developmental problem, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder? We will explore these developmental processes that are critical for school success, attention, and memory. Cognitive neuroscientists distinguish three aspects of attention that improve dramatically during early childhood: sustained attention or attention span, which is the ability to focus on a particular task; selective attention, the ability to focus on relevant stimuli; and executive attention, the ability to shift and divide attention among diverse stimuli or responses. Kindergarten teachers rank children's skill in inhibiting responses to distractors and paying attention to relevant information as more important in school readiness than children's knowledge of early reading and math concepts. Kindergarten teachers also believe the ability to tune out distractors and pay attention is key to developing listening, reading, and math skills and to adapting to the social environment of kindergarten. Researchers find that children with more advanced sustained attention, selective attention, and inhibitory control perform better in kindergarten on reading and math readiness tests and get along more successfully with their peers. Quality of family environment between 6 months and 4 years of age was related to both sustained attention and impulsivity at ages 5 and 6.5. And the control of attention involves the prefrontal cortex. There's a nice figure in your textbook that shows the age differences in attention to a puppet show video. We see that 2.5 to 4.5 years old, they are away from the table versus looking at the puppet show. We see these age differences in selective attention, and important in early childhood is the transition to school. Improvements in recall occur after age 3 as children's ability to create well-structured narratives about their experiences also improves. As children get older, they are able to provide more detail as they recount childhood experiences. Adult autobiographical narratives contain factual descriptions as well as emotions, thoughts, reactions, and opinions. Between ages 3 and 6, narratives become more elaborate. Girls generally provide more details and greater organization in their narratives than boys. Children from Europe and the US include more comments about themselves than do children from Asian countries. Possible explanations for weak autobiographical memories are the inability of infants to encode information verbally, underdeveloped areas of the brain implicated in memory formation, and the use of scripts, generalized versions of events that happen to young children. Piaget theory, and information processing approaches assume that children learn and think in the same way at all times and places. Lev Vygotsky was present during the rapid transformation of Russian society after the Communist Revolution. This led him to think about the importance of social, cultural, and historical context for children's learning. This section will describe the sociocultural perspective of development as presented by Lev Vygotsky, who coined the concept of the zone of proximal development. The zone of proximal development is the gap between children's ability to solve a problem independently and their ability to solve it with the help of more capable peers or adults. Barbara Rogoff extended the zone of proximal development concept to include guided participation, which are social interactions where a child might learn from observing and participating with an adult in an activity. Developmental psychologists use the term scaffolding, which is the collaboration of adult and child. Young children need reminders of the order of main events or questions about what happened next, while older children may only need a few hints. Children may engage in over-imitating adult actions by imitating the actions of more skilled partners that are irrelevant to the task at hand or even inefficient. Vygotsky emphasized language as a significant contributor to thinking skills. And by age 3, children engage in 2 types of speech. According to Vygotsky, communicative speech with others, and then private speech becomes inner speech after about age 7 and is used by older children and adults to guide their thinking, particularly when problems become more difficult. So this is where they talk out loud to themselves and use their speech to guide their attention, plan their actions, and inhibit inappropriate actions. Vygotsky proposed that a zone of proximal development is created during collaboration and that teams of children produce cognitively more mature results than a child working alone. Contemporary research supports the zone of proximal development theory as truth, but mainly when one of the collaborators is more advanced in the particular domain. Critics of Vygotsky and his concepts argue that they're hard to measure and they're not inherently developmental in nature. Another criticism is that Vygotsky did not say much about children's changing knowledge and information processing skills and how that affects their development. In this section, we will outline the importance of language, early literacy interventions, and numeracy for laying the groundwork for success in formal schooling. Children's expressive and receptive vocabularies expand enormously in early childhood. Children understand about 169 words at 16 months, and by age 5 or 6, English-speaking children are estimated to comprehend the meanings of about 10,000 words. Children learn words in other ways, such as repeating or acknowledging a new word or phrase when first presented. Children exposed to a greater amount of adult speech acquire more detailed knowledge of words. Upper SES parents uttered nearly twice as many words to their children as lower SES parents. One way to close the vocabulary gap is by exposing children to well-designed educational programs such as Sesame Street. Recall speech at the 2-word phase, which is about 18 to 24 months, is telegraphic and lacks inflections, such as the plural or past tense. Between ages 2 and 5, inflections begin to appear. An updated article instructors may use to supplement the discussion is by Hart and Risley, and it looks at the quantitative differences in speech of lower and higher SES and focuses on early communications. One way to test for inflectional rules is to use the classic Wug test, and this is in your book, Figure 8.8. Initially, children use both irregular and regular tense correctly, indicating memorization. Then, over-regularization occurs in errors, where we see past tense rules that are used with irregular verbs. So falled, broked, runned, and plurals like mans, foots, gooses. The Wug Test assesses whether children understand the plural by asking them to apply it to a word they have heard for the first time. So the example here is this is a wug. Now there is another one. There are two of them. There are two, and then they would respond. Children understand basic English sentence structure as early as 17 to 18 months. And from 2 to 4 years, children master the basic subject, verb, object order in their own speech, learning how to use a verb in a similar manner as their parents. Sentence forms such as questions, negatives, and imperatives are learned between 3 and 5 years of age. Children learn pragmatics, which is the use of language in achieving communicative and social goals. They begin to exhibit turn-taking, staying on topic, stating their message clearly, cracking a joke, picking up on nonverbal cues, and repairing a social interaction. Conversations become longer and more intricate and include improvements in these abilities. Parents and older siblings directly and indirectly assist in communication development. 20% of American children grow up in a home in which language other than English is spoken, and many become bilingual or simultaneous bilingualism. Sequential bilingualism does not present a serious problem in children as long as the second language is initiated relatively early and the child has extensive exposure to both languages across multiple domains, such as home, community, and school. The costs of bilingualism come about because children are learning two language systems. Emergent literacy is the process by which children develop literacy several years before they can read and write. This consists of print-related skills and oral language skills. In particular, children are challenged to learn phonemes and learn best from direct instruction. An important print-related skill is phonological awareness. This is the ability to analyze the sound of components of spoken words. And this includes exposure to nursery rhymes, sound games, and other creative ideas involving direct instruction. Counting helps children understand numerical magnitude comparisons, figuring out which set is greater in numerosity or which of two numbers is larger, initially through perceptual representation and then by counting. By age 6, children appear to internalize a mental number line and learn to discriminate between adjacent numbers, at least up to 10. Counting is useful in simple addition and subtraction. Preschoolers build on counting skills by using their fingers, and by age 5 understand reversible thinking such as subtraction cancels out addition. Additional skills such as estimation and number pattern are mastered between preschool and kindergarten. SES and preschool experience with numbers are related to the rate of development. Children whose preschool teachers talk about numbers and provide them with experience in counting and comparing quantities acquire number concepts sooner. The one-to-one principle is to assign one and only one number to each object. The stable order principle is always say number words in the same order. Cardinality is the last number counted represents the quantity of the set. So by age 3.5 years, children have discovered these three important principles of counting. Do children attending childcare outside the home excel in kindergarten readiness compared to those cared for by stay-at-home mothers or fathers? About 60% of children attend childcare in the first 2 years. Childcare is theoretically distinct from Head Start and preschool because it affords care so that parents can work rather than focusing on the education of children. Extremely high-quality programs that begin at an early age show extraordinary results with gains persisting through age 21 and include higher attendance at four-year colleges, benefits for social behavior, employment history, and avoidance of delinquency and crime. Head Start was established in 1965 and was designed to prepare disadvantaged children for school. It serves more than 900,000 young children today. Head Start preschool experiences appear to have small but significant benefits for vocabulary, emergent literacy, and numeracy, and Head Start children show fewer behavior problems. However, these benefits fade by kindergarten, except for a small Head Start advantage in language skills. An evaluation of supplemental programs for Head Start children in kindergarten to grade 3 showed academic achievement score advantages that lasted into middle school, fewer special education placements, and higher high school graduation rates. State-funded public pre-K programs have expanded in an effort to fill in the gaps where Head Start is unable to serve. So far, programs in Oklahoma show positive effects on math and literacy test scores at school entry.